your calls. Michelle in Denver. Hey, Michelle, what's on your mind today?
The Republican Party is inhumane. None of their policies help people. They haven't helped people in over 50 years.
Well, they do help some people, Michelle. They help people who have a net worth of over about $5 million, yeah.
Right. And the rich aren't going to spend money on the economy. They're buying yachts, corporations, stock. So therefore, the majority of Americans are suffering because of race. This all comes down to race. They do not want black people in this country, or any other race for that fact, to take over. They did not want a black president, and they were shocked that we got one. And so now they're doing a turnabout and making sure that we never have a black, Latino, whoever, Muslim majority in the United States government ever again. And this is why I'm saying, what are we going to do? Because I cannot take, I don't know how anybody else can, seeing another black man killed the way that Tyree Nichols is. I cannot take another person dying from COVID. I cannot take seeing poor people left out in shelters with no protection. I cannot take seeing, as the gentleman pointed out, children being discarded. I cannot take another school shooting. I cannot take any more. And you're literally we're burning this country to the ground because enough people won't wake up to realize the damage that's being done. Yeah. And I see it all around me. I see it when I participate. I see it when I try to do calls. I see it when I try to get people elected. In these red states specifically, we're being held hostage. Blue states, Colorado, New York, all these other places are being held hostage because we can't get out this electoral college. Did Marsha Blackburn go see Tyree Nichols' family? No. Did she go to the funeral? No. Did they say anything relevant to saying we're going to pass the George Floyd Act because we want to make sure black people live in this country, make it home, as Al Sharpton said? No. And so when is enough going to be enough in this country to where people actually wake up to participate and vote these guys out and never allow them to have power again, because they can't have power again? Over and over and over, we go through this cycle with the Republicans over and over again, and it's damaging. It's damaging to the country. It's damaging to the American people. All in support of the rich, keeping power, and then making America white again.
Yep.
And it's insane.
I think that there are, with regard to all of this and with regard to race, for the very, very wealthy people who own the Republican Party and the giant corporations who own the Republican Party, I think there's actually two levels of concern with regard to race that they have. The first, of course, you've got a lot of people in that group who are just simply racists. They don't want to live in a country with black people. They don't want to live in a neighborhood with black people, et cetera. And they want black people to be hyper-policed so that they will, remain in fear of anything, basically. But I think also there's an economic issue. I think that a lot of these people, these very wealthy funders of the Republican Party, believe that there has to be an underclass. This goes back to in England during the time of Charles Dickens. We have minimum wage laws here in the United States right now. England used to have maximum wage laws. It was illegal for an employer to pay their workers more than a certain amount. And the reason for that was that the prevailing thought among the conservatives of the day, people like David Hume or people like, I'm blanking on some of the names, but anyhow, some of these, old British conservatives from the 16th, 17th, 18th centuries, they believed that for an economy to work, you must have a permanent underclass. And how do you define who that permanent underclass is? Well, those definitions have changed over time, but typically it's immigrants or people of color. Because they're easily identified. They're identified by the way they speak, or they're identified by the color of their skin. And, this is why they're supporting Republicans, Michelle, in my opinion. So, but you just gave...
Yes, I agree. I agree, but they're also MAGA. MAGA is the poorest of the poor.
Yeah, that's the hateful racists.
And they're willing to die on a hill just to make sure that people of color don't have anything.
Yeah.
in this country.
Yeah.
And there's not enough white allies waking up to help. There's really not. And we have to start saying, hey, when are you guys going to help us to help you? Because we've been doing the hard work.
Well, in the protests,
1619.
in the Black Lives Matter protests, protesting the murder of George Floyd, there were more white people in the streets than black people. Now, you would expect that based on the population in the United States. There's about twice as many white people, maybe 3 times as many white people as black people. But historically, that's not always been the case, when it comes to, protests on race. So I think that the white cohort, I think that the white allies of people of color are starting to show up, and they are starting to be loud. And you gave such a passionate argument and statement, Michelle. I'm really impressed. Thank you so much for calling our program and for sharing your perspective. I appreciate it.